there, and welcome, welcome,
Hello.
welcome. And this is Jason Timpinski, and I'm so happy to have him with me on the show. Thank you, Jason. I know a lot of these people know who you are already, um, and that you've been on with Linda G and Kevin and a few others, and have your wonderful own channel
Yeah,
of which you're working at this point. But welcome to our community. We're happy to have you here. We
thank
really
you.
are. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, what drew me a little bit immediately to you was your training in QHHT.
hmm
A lot of people don't know what that is, but it is. I had a dear friend who took the classes and practiced with me, and I was able to regress and do a few other things, and it was just a magical experience.
Yeah.
And of course, by Dolores Cannon, she's the one
hmm
that brought it. Yeah, she's the one that brought it to you. So what was your impetus for finding it? Had you read some of Cannon's books, or what what brought you there?
It was more, I think she kind of found me. So I was
Okay, okay.
was in grad school for the third time, and I was studying counseling. And I don't know. Long story short, it bothered me that there wasn't any type of spiritual, like professional counselor education. Spiritual is just out of the question, not talked about.
I get
So,
it. I get it.
and it was so it kind of I became an advocate for that and
Uh-huh.
trying to figure out how to bring spirituality into mainstream counseling. And then I read like one little quote by Dolores, and I'd never thought of hypnosis as an option. And
Uh-huh.
in fact,
Yeah.
I grew up in Las Vegas around Area 51, and so I had an uncle who was really cruel and used to send me these, ironically, hypnosis books where people were regressed to abductions and things, and they were actually
Oh,
really terrifying. And
sure, sure. Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't sleep very much when I was a kid. um,
That's very
but
nice of you. Yeah.
but there was still this fascination, and so I got the custodian's book, which is about ETs, one of Dolores' books about ETs, just as a more or less curiosity of what it would be like. And it was not what I was expecting. I mean, it was
Hmm.
connecting everything that I'd ever thought about, wondered about. I mean, I have a background in
Yeah.
philosophy. I grew up in a spiritual family, so it just like I couldn't stop reading, and I didn't
I
even
get
really know you could learn the technique. And then one time I actually read the back of one of the books, and it said you can learn it. And so I went to the website, but then I was in grad school, and then I was in the website,
Oh,
and
being
I was
pulled from many
doing.
directions. Yeah.
And then the more I read, the more I knew, and the less I had faith in like that I wanted to do counseling. And it just
Oh,
got to the point where I was like rushing through my schoolwork so I could listen or read to books. That I mean, it just became my obsession in a way. And
I love it.
it
I
got
love
to the
it.
point where I it was like my last semester of coursework. So I've been doing it for 2 years, and I was just like, and in the back of my head, it was, you know, do the
Yeah.
QHHT. I fought the whole way. I eventually left school and I did the training, and I'm so happy that I did. So that was the long answer.
No, but I love it. Okay, so let me tell you something that similarly happened to me. I had studied. I've read all of Dolores Cannon's book. I've read all of tons and tons of books when they first came out in the '90s and early 2000s, and I felt as though I knew what the hell I was doing. Let's say, and
Right.
what I believed in, and I had a real solid foundation in lots of different areas. But nobody really thought anything. If somebody said to you, "What is it that you can do?" I couldn't come up with anything. I mean, I had all these arrows in my quiver, but I didn't know which one to pick and which one to use. And so I said, "Well, I have to get credibility." So I went to grad school, and the closest thing I could come to was humanities, and
hmm
because that's pretty much what all of this is as well. And so,
Right.
I'm not real good with the scientific side of things. It's just not my forte, like, with quantum physics or any of that stuff. But when it comes to other things, and it was for me to get and I think maybe, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe that's what you were kind of thinking too. I'm not on, this isn't exactly what I want to do. And this is calling to me over here.
Yeah.
And so maybe I can do what I want to do if I focus, if I turn and go this way.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was 20, I thought I was going to college for communications and graphic design. And
I get it.
I took a philosophy class, and that was it. I couldn't stop. It was the same thing, but
Yes.
it still wasn't like I went to grad school for philosophy, but it turned into something else. Like
I get it. I
more
get it.
about knowledge than anything. And so I worked at restaurants and sommelier, and then I taught high school for a while. So,
Oh, wow.
but the awesome thing about it, and just like for anyone, I always kind of thought I was random, and I just didn't really like. I saw people who would say, "Oh, I love my job. There's absolutely nothing I love about it. It's not a job for me." And I always just thought,
yeah, I know.
Something that you don't like the person at the desk next to you, something like that. And now I understand. So
yeah, you understand. You're a lot like, it's just for me, it's validating because you're a lot like I am. Whereas I dip my toes into this and this and this, and I still wasn't satisfied. I still wasn't. And so somebody said to me, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And they're, 17 or 18 years old. And I'm like, well, I'm in my 40s or 50s, and I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Yeah.
But the cool thing is that when I did have my first QHHT session, which was about a year after I started doing it, just because there wasn't a lot of practitioners close to me, and I asked, I was like, I feel like one of my questions for my higher self was, I feel like I was in this territory when I was studying philosophy, but now looking back, I knew a lot, but I really didn't understand it. And now, I've stopped doing counseling or the program, and they were just kind of like, you're using, and I felt this already, you're using little bits and parts of everything that you did. The counseling program, you needed to learn how to speak the language and everything else. And so they said this has been in the making forever. So it's not, so it kind of goes to show, even though you think you may not on a direct path, there is a plan behind it. So just for one who,
and if you look back, then you can see all of the pieces and how they all fit together. But when you're in it, you're like, what the hell's going on? What's wrong with I get it.
Yeah.
And I really love it. And yes, Annie Bear, you're right. No learning is ever wasted. And we can always take what it is. For his counseling that he was learning, you are now a spiritual counselor.
Yeah.
And so you can still counsel. It's just that you don't have this credential that says you can't ask questions about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. In all actuality, it's a lot more freeing. Like, I don't have to worry about, I can't call myself like a licensed counselor, but it's like I don't have these limitations.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm always after, my daughter is a marriage and family counselor, and she's not metaphysical, but she has some belief. But she won't cross that line in any way. And she's so rigid, and it's kind of sad, but that's her path. And and so she does what she can do. But I love that. And so that's a couple of things that were on your profile said, to help people choose path and purpose. And I really love that because I think that we automatically feel, well, thank you, Valerie. And thank you, Rhonda, as well. That's very nice of you. I think that we think that there's going to be a lightning bolt that's going to come and hit us in the head. And sometimes it does. Sometimes people have a illness, or they have a loss, or they have something else. But most of the time, we only need to realize that, we may not be the next Buddha or the next philosopher, but we can be of service, and love is the key and the element that we need to follow. So if there's something else that comes out with it, if there's some other benefit that we get, or some other aha moment, as you have had yourself, it comes from trial and error. Would you agree? Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's just, it's, we're raised to think we know what we want to do from a very young age. And it's almost, I don't want to say it's a joke, but it's, you have to experience life first before
you absolutely do. No, you
make
do.
that decision.
So I have, I teach at the college level, and I'm ready to, retire. I don't really want to do that anymore, but I have students that lament. They're 17 and they have to know what they have to do in their life. And I'm like, no, you don't. And I'm also a person who thinks higher education is very beneficial, but not for some people. Some people don't need that. And I also can see that a year off between high school and college is a good idea. And I also see people that come in and they're in their 30s and 40s, and they believe that it's too late for them. They're trying to figure out still what to do, and there's something wrong with them for not knowing, and that's not true. It's just not true.
No.
Yeah. So it's but I love the circuitous path. You work with psychic soul body wellness. I love that, because that's a lot about this, isn't it? It's how you think.
It's a part of it. It's
okay.
I've tried putting myself in a box when it comes to that, and the more that I do it, the more I'm discovering. But
no, you can't put yourself in a box.
It just really, I'm guided by where I need to go, and sometimes I tap into past lifetimes if that's what I need to see. And I mean, it's starting from the physical, like physical symptoms, acknowledging it's a message from your spirit team, and then just really trying to figure out what they're trying to tell you. But then sometimes it's also past life traumas and things that we carry that.
No, that's true. I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with
and then I tap in with my own abilities and communicating with their spirit teams and stuff. So it's kind of like I'm Grand Central Station of.
You got all these trains of thought going from here to there.
At first, some people are like, "Why are you asking me all these questions?" Like, I have to have all this information.
Good for you.
Just because that's how I work. So
it's not only physical, it's spiritual, it's mental, it's emotional, and it's past life. And that's where your QHHT training, I'm sure, has come in very handy for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was that outlet that, I learned more about myself, whether through people's higher selves hinting at me about certain things, like, "Oh, you know about this," and I, okay, or it seems like they're like teasing me a little bit, but I know it's a bit in my head, and but then I started realizing I could see people's lifetimes with them, which
Dolores, that's awesome.
Well, that's Dolores said that if you're an empath, you shouldn't do QHHT. I am, but then I also see the lifetimes I've learned. So
I never heard that. I never heard that part, because my friend who did it, yes, it is quantum hypnosis healing technique. Yes, I want you all to know that it's just abbreviated to QHHT, and it was started by Dolores Cannon and her group out of Arkansas. Yeah,
right.
Yep. But you can do it long distance. You can take the training, right, or on Zoom or something.
Yeah, the level 1 you can do. Level 2, I think you can do that online too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You just can't do the sessions online.
No, you can't. Yeah, you've got to have them in the room with the people. And I tell you, it was I did it twice with my friend, and it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I saw lots of lifetimes, and I I had some incredible people come through that I would never have expected. So it was very, very interesting. I do see some of your questions here, and we will get to them. I'm just wanting at this point to just talk a little bit to Jason about things that he does and stuff. So yes, and welcome to everybody. Thank you all for being here. Aley, if you don't know me, from Heart and Soul Connected, and I'm the interviewer today, and Jason is simulcasting on his channel. And you and I have a lot of the similar people, it looks like. But yeah, welcome. Welcome to everybody. Thank you for being here today. So you channel, have you channeled entities, or are you channeling sort of past life stuff?
It comes through my writing. Okay. Up until recently, I've been calling it automatic writing, just because it seems to flow like that. But I know that it's not where my hand is taking over, so it is more kind of like a stream of consciousness.
Okay. Wow.
I haven't pinpointed exactly where it comes from, but I mean, it's how I do readings and everything else, where I'll write down words and phrases, and sometimes they make absolutely no sense, but then conversation goes on. And so that's more so the channeling I do. I don't do those, like those amazing people who switch personas and let someone. I'm not that type of channel.
A lot of people get really scared actually by that when people make these weird noises and things. So it's
well, it doesn't scare me, and I think it's just from the QHHT, because it's like,
of course,
other entities, beings coming. Well, it is yourself, but you're up teams too.
You're just bringing in some thoughts from other people. Wow. Have you had the problem with? There's a saying, you can't be a prophet in your own hometown. And so have you had anybody that knew you in the past that kind of goes, right, if you understand my point, like they don't really believe that you can do the things you say you can do?
What's interesting is that I went through a process before I started QHHT that was kind of, I went to a retreat for like a month.
Okay.
No cell phone, no television. It was there was spiritual stuff. It was beautiful. Yeah. I feel like it was yesterday, but it was 5 years ago now.
Wow.
But not having communication, everything, it just made me really evaluate. And I did have some friendships and things that I had since childhood.
Sure. Yeah.
But in some ways, it's like I had developed this sort of person that wasn't fully me. So it was like, I haven't maintained those. And it's because I don't, it's just, that process that we're all going through right now.
Oh, absolutely. You have to own your authenticity. What's
served you? And I don't really want to have to explain and convince someone else. I mean, I don't need to, but
right. No, you don't.
It just feels like a different lifetime.
I'm sure. And that's beautiful, because that makes a lot of sense. I think we do live a lot of different lifetimes in our lifespan.
Absolutely.
I've seen it even for me with my choices of what I've done for work, because I didn't become a professor until I was over 45 years old. So before I did mortgages and I did taxes, and I was married before, and I had all, and I don't even really remember a lot of that anymore. Isn't that fascinating? So I totally get it. I totally get it. I love that. That's beautiful thinking. ETs. Have you seen any? Have you seen a UFO? Have you seen anything?
That's a complex topic.
Okay. We don't have to go on.
It's become a lot clearer to me that I have a lot more involvement with them than I thought I did. And it was just interesting that being in Las Vegas, and I was absolutely, completely terrified of aliens and everything else.
Well, also because of your uncle. That didn't help.
Yeah, that. And the media. I mean, they would, on the local newscasts, they would have stuff about Area 51. And I remember the first time I saw that, and I remember exactly what I was sitting on the floor, and I just felt the chill of fear just go down my whole body. It was like,
Yeah, I get it.
I was like,
I get
outside Las Vegas, what? But
it.
it actually, my mom had a memory that's been confirmed when she was a teenager, and my grandmother, she had abilities that, I mean, they all did, but she was in the war, like world in the war, and she used to do spot planes, and apparently
Oh,
she also
sure,
saw
sure. She saw a lot of things then.
a lot of
Yeah,
other things too. So
sure.
it's
Yeah.
generational.
It is generational. I've heard that. I've heard that. My brothers saw a UFO in the 40s. I wasn't born then. I was,
Hmm.
I saw one in the 60s, and I I think that we just don't always know that we've seen others and or had that, like you say. And it's when we talk about it sometimes that they perk their ears up. Oh, she wants some information. I'll be happy to go over there and let her know. Yeah.
I've also had some interesting sessions where
Uh-huh.
ETs have come through, and there's been a couple times where there's like this joking with me that's like, it feels like family. I can't really explain it, but
Mhm.
there's
Mhm.
one particular client I had, and it was amazing session. And then these other entities came through, and they were joking with me, and then like it was the teasing thing, like, why are you asking this question? You already know this. And I was like, well, I kind of have to ask it because this is a session and she needs to.
Right. Why do
It was like,
they do that? They do.
and it was like this banter, and then
Uh-huh.
and it was like, I think at one point there was something like, we know you and you know us, and I was like, okay, that's
Do
great.
you know my uncle?
I know. Yeah, watch my
Oh,
uncle come through all these sessions. Be
yeah,
like,
yeah,
guess where I am.
yeah. Oh, good Lord, you have to laugh, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, some of the odd things happen in life, and we all are kind of sitting here shaking our heads. But they do. They get. I know guides and angels even sometimes can be really um, jokey, and
yeah,
they fool around with you.
yeah,
But I think part of it is they want you to lighten up, and maybe
yeah,
we take it too
yeah.
seriously. So it's all good.
That's
It's all good.
always comes through sessions. It's like
I
people have
bet
all
it
these
does.
questions, and they're like, she just needs to chill out. She needs to
Yeah.
have some fun. She doesn't need to worry about this. This isn't serious.
Yeah. By
Yeah,
the time we get to the other side and we look back at what we worried about while we were here, we go, what a waste of time that
yeah,
was. Yeah,
it's true.
just a waste. I
And if we
remember my
don't,
mom was a worry wart, and she actually ended up killing herself with it. She died of a heart attack, and it was because she was a worry wart. And I just think she's over there going, oh, geez, I kind of wasted that lifetime. I didn't need to worry about those things. But,
yeah,
live and learn. So, well,
it could have been you never know. It could have been
her path.
she might have had like a lifetime where she was like rambunctious, didn't care, and
Maybe.
something
You're
happened.
right. Yeah, you're
Okay,
right.
I'll experience the opposite. I'll be very careful and not
Yeah,
move.
something different. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. Let's see. There's something else I wanted to ask you. Um, I love this that you say we've chosen and created what we experience in this lifetime, and we also decide how to ease physical problems, and allow ourselves to heal in the most meaningful and best way possible, and choose a path that remembers the divine spark. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's
Hmm.
really, really poetic, and it's very lovely and very, very true. Um, I love that you bring up the divine spark of light that we all have inside of us, and how it's so important for us to forgive ourselves and to
Yes.
let ourselves know that we just can't take life seriously all the time, that we need to know that we are that light for others as well. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
really beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Especially, I mean, I think it's so important for people that, I think there's one step where it's in spirituality, it's like recognizing we choose our families and we choose our
Right.
parents. And then, but
Yep.
then that's where a lot of people stop. And then it's like, they have a really bad family experience that must be they're being punished. And I always assert with them, it's like, you're here for a reason. It's because you are light, you are love, and
That's
it's
right.
just, you chose that family to help them grow. And if you don't affect them, that's their choice, and move on. And that's the spark that needs to.
Absolutely. We have to polish up the spark of light that we have allowed to dim.
Yeah.
And I remember being led to a place. I had no job. I had nowhere to live. And we were led, my husband and I, to a place that was very dark, very, very dark. And the only thing that sustained us was the fact that we were both pretty much enlightened people. In other words, we knew what we were supposed to do. Doesn't mean we could always do it every day, but we changed the energy of the area that we lived. And it was amazing, the things that happened. Like this one lady came in and she said she came in to pay her bill because she was planning on killing herself, and she didn't want us to not have her bill paid before she died. So and my husband didn't know any of that, except that he said, "You look like you really need a hug. Would you like a hug?" And she said, "Oh, that would be so nice." And he gave her a hug, and he said, "You have a beautiful day." And she didn't do it. She didn't do it. And she came in the next month and said, "You have no idea. You have no idea what I was going to do." And he was mortified that, she was even thinking about doing that. But just that alone could have been the whole reason he was here. That's, and until we can accept that, each day we have that opportunity in order to do those things.
Yeah.
We think we're being insufficient, or we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, but we really, really are. Yeah.
And it's the reverse too. It
is.
People, a lot of the people I've seen that have clinical diagnosis of depression, and then they have that horrible family experience, and then their higher self comes through and it says,
"Yep,
you are light, you are love." Just because you don't see how you affect people, you still touch their lives. That's their choice. It's not yours. And I mean, I'm not saying everyone who's depressed has that, but they've.
Oh no, I know what you're saying.
It's unfortunate that it's like a powerful light being in this body that's just given up because no one understands them.
Yeah.
And it's crushing that
and it is. I hate to see that. Yeah. I mean, some people, maybe that was maybe they came and they did what they were supposed to do and it was their exit point, but it's just so tragic to see that. And it just reminds me of my husband's favorite movie, which everybody knows, It's a Wonderful Life. But, how you have affected those people around you, you have no idea. You just don't know. And so that movie always brings it home for a lot of people. Yeah, so wonderful. Well, I could talk with you about this all day long, but we'll do some questions. And if anybody has indictment for an unnamed person. Oh, Wiki, we were talking about that. We're not really wanting to get into the ick. I don't know if it's going to come out today or not. I know everybody's on indictment watch, but I think at this point, no offense, we're going to stick with some of the happier stuff. That man always makes me kind of want to vomit. But So Annie Bear, beautiful lady. I just interviewed her last week, and she is a Native American woman with just a lot of love. And she says she would like to know about the crystalline energy in our bodies, if you could talk about it.
Oh. I mean, our DNA is crystalline. It's the housing of, I don't know, there's a part of me, and I brought this up with who was it? Anyway, like Akashic Records, I almost feel like there's an aspect of it that's that, because it stores all of our lifetimes, holds all the knowledge of every lifetime we've lived, everything else. We can actually change our DNA because of this crystalline structure, just by our intention and vibration and everything else. It doesn't mean that you can grow wings tomorrow. There are limitations.
Oh, darn.
But in terms of like genetics and predisposition to diseases and everything else. It's just our belief systems that actually manifest those.
Right.
But I really don't have that much to say about it. I mean, we are crystalline, and it's
part of who we are. Is in our DNA. Is that
our
what you're saying?
DNA is crystalline.
It's crystalline. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting, and it's got nothing to do with crystalline, but it was something that I heard on the news this morning, everybody, that said, I take metformin, I have diabetes. People tell me, oh, don't take that. That's really awful. But I don't really have a choice. And so today I'm hearing Sanjay Gupta talking, and apparently metformin helps with non-aging. And so, and they said that it stops a lot of the aging diseases, processes, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, well, thank you. I needed to hear that today. That was a good thing for me. But yeah. All right. So let's see. Juanita wants to know, do you know anything about numerology?
I'm not.
Not. Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably second grade level with numerology.
I get it. No,
I know about divine numbers and all that, but yeah.
Yeah. And I know a little bit about it, Juanita, but I'm going to have a lady on the 15th of the month who will do everything on numerology. So get your popcorn out. You can come and ask her. All right. Sonia wonders if you see her working in the other realm. Will I meet my guides and angels?
I will say, just not. Generally speaking, we are all multidimensional, and almost guaranteed we all have other lives in other places doing other things. It's just we're not. Well, times are changing. Some people are starting to become more and more aware about this. Dreams where you're working laboratory somewhere else, or some different place you've never been to before. So that's really, I don't really tap into that. I mean, for people, I can get a sense usually through a little bit more conversation. If you have like galactic guides and things like that, that usually pops out to me. And I think I don't know if it's, well, I know I'm not the only one who does that, but it's usually easier for me to do that. In terms of your guides and angels, that's up to them. It has been revealed to me a lot of times. In some cases, the more and more that we want to see them or have them manifest, the least inclined they are to do it, because the question is, why are you? And sometimes they want you to, continue in your work, because if they show themselves too early, it might take you off your own spiritual path. So there is actually a kind of divine timing in terms of when they'll make themselves known to you. And
that's fascinating.
So it's not, they're there, but manifesting themselves and making themselves unquestionably present. And
plus, when they manifest themselves to you, I believe you have to look at them out of the side of your eye. I don't know that you'll be able to look at them dead on. Yeah.
And they don't always, it's for some people, it's not necessary for them to have a physical form, but when they do, it's usually some way that you will connect with. So,
okay.
I've had sessions with clients who saw Yoda as like a spirit guide, and it wasn't Yoda, but they were a big Star Wars fan, and Yoda was considered a wise guide. So
that's
what she saw, and she was perfectly fine and happy with it. Whatever works.
Whatever works is right. So yes, somebody tarot backwards. Trump's been indicted. So there's your answer, everybody. Yeah. All right. So we'll take the dirt out right now and move into some more cleanse. I got this, Sonia. I got that once you attune to them, once they allow you to attune to them, that you will have an abiding friendship. And so it might be that you can call on them and work with them and be able to work with them up here, let's say. I don't know that you'll be able to see them with your eyes, but you will be able maybe to see them through the eyes of the soul. So there is a difference. But I would definitely keep on it. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Things
much older. You have guides with you, so
yeah. Yep.
That's a yes.
That's a yes. All right. Lorraine wonders if she has ET guides. Do you get a feeling you should phone home, Lorraine? If you do, sorry, couldn't help it.
There's a voice inside me that says we all actually do, in some capacity, that we do have, whether it be ETs or some type of galactic vibrational energy that's always with us, because we all are galactic beings. We all are technically extraterrestrials in our own right.
And we're all starseeds. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we all have origin places and everything else. So, I can say the QHHT sessions that I've had with people who are, hyper spiritual, on their spiritual paths and journeys, when they reach a certain point, the galactic guides make themselves more present and apparent.
There are some people, and I don't know how I feel about this, it's just something I've heard, that believe that angels themselves actually are ETs. I don't know how, will tell you that when I was down in Sedona with Linda and all the group down there in May, we were taking pictures of the sky. We were looking for UFOs, and one gal got a most beautiful picture of an angel. And I mean, it was like a cloud, but it was in the dead of night. And when I saw it, I just thought to myself, maybe there is some truth to it. I don't know. I'm very open-minded, but I'm not gullible. I don't want to be gullible either,
Yeah. I mean, my understanding is, in terms of spirituality, if you do affiliate yourself with a particular religion or religious beliefs, that your guides or angels or spirit, however you conceive of that, of divine guidance, they'll manifest themselves that way. So if you're an angel person, you'll see angels. If you're more energy, you'll see energy. I will say, angels, they're beings. They do exist. They do. I mean, it's I don't want to go down that road, but
it's all right. It's okay. It's the same. I think it's the same way when people cross over or have a near-death experience and they see beauty, they see whatever it is they believe in is what they see. And that's why some people have come back and said, I've seen demons and I've seen this and I've seen, because they've been fearful their whole lives. Are you feeling that way too? Yeah.
I mean, that's actually happened with me in a couple sessions, because part of UHHT, you take them to the other side, and there's a couple people that they do see a hell and they see demons. And it's terrifying at first, but then after a while, it always happens, and even Dolores mentions this in her books, after a while they start to realize they've created this.
They've created that.
All they have to do is step outside that illusion, and they're on, in the light, with source. So it's that's definitely true.
I mean, it makes me feel happy, because those people that I have talked to that were had an NDE, for the most part, and myself, when I was doing QHHT, she asked me, when she brought me to the other side, what was the lesson, and I knew immediately what it was. And so I'm sure you get that all the time with your clients. If you ask them to take them over, what did you learn? Well, I learned I wasn't supposed to do this, or and it's so easy. It's so easy to know.
Sometimes there is a question, especially if the life is particularly difficult, and the death is difficult and everything else. And sometimes it does, because once we call on the higher self to come through, we also ask, why did you choose this lifetime? And sometimes it's pretty like mind blowing, not or
Sure.
expected, like
Yes.
death and destruction life, but she did learn the value of true love. I mean, it's that type of thing where
Oh, wow.
some people go through really, really traumatic lifetimes for a lesson in love. So it's
Right. And I think that it's important to mention because those of us many of us in the community have been upset by the actions of certain people in the government, and those people that have followed that way. And we why can't they see it? Why don't they know it? What's the matter with them? And we go over this, and how could we change it? And the problem is we can't do a damn thing because they decided to come here and experience that, and it wasn't in their backpack, I guess, that they were going to be different, or their first time here, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I really don't get into the politics, but I mean, I know how the higher self and the whole galactic community, I mean, it's inevitably part of everything that's going on.
Sure it is.
And I mean, they do stress it's important not to, get too wrapped up in it because it does affect us physically and
yes, it does.
But a consistent thing they have kept saying is what we see right now going on in the politics, in politics and the media is reactionary. It's not a reflection. It's not a reflection of who we are right now. It's almost like a bon voyage to the old structure, the old way, and the old system. And they, whether they acknowledge it or not, are like a bunch of little kids like saying, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
That's right. It's the toddler stage. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of people that don't like change. I actually like change. I'm a very rare person, but there's people that will kicking and screaming and dragging and they will not make, and that's anybody. It doesn't mean whether they're, political people or not, but the hardest thing I think is to continue to love people that show their worst side of themselves, and to wish the best for them, because we feel enraged by actions or things, and this could be family or it could be anything really. It's not going to do us any good because, like you say, we're the ones that get the illness because we're the ones that are taking on the anger and the frustration. So I love that. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, so we have Happy Jaxie. My questions for Jason regarding September, October. What do you see for California, and what do you think we should be prepared for? With the wildfires, is that kind of what you're? Oh, thanks, Craig. Thank you, dear.
I will say that the information I have shared, and I will share here, has come from the galactic community through sessions. So I'm not predicting.
Right. No, I know.
I just
it's for entertainment purposes only.
I know.
So we're fine.
Some people think I'm doing predictions, and
I understand. No.
I really,
and it's understandable.
Yeah, because the last thing I want to do is cause fear in people, because that's
that's contrary to what you do. Absolutely.
But September is like the pivotal month where we've been experiencing changes in frequency and vibration. The weather's been slowly changing. Wildfires, flooding. It's going to be a pivotal month in terms of where we're going and where we're headed. A big part of that is Gaia, the Earth, is a conscious being, is awakening, or has been doing so for a while. The divine feminine, which is why the politicians are called like, I don't want to go. That's kind of because she's rising back up, so it's going to be a new phase. But with that comes Gaia needs a bath, so it's washing away a lot of negative energies, the residual energies from centuries of hatred, anger, war, famine, disease, all that. So there's going to be a lot of flooding. I've been told that it will be where deserts are no longer, meaning that even like this, I asked specifically, the Sahara, it's going to go back to the way it was during ancient Egypt, which was a slush tropical environment. So it's that where I'm going now, that's like 200, well, the last I was told 250 years in the future.
Sure.
But it's been sped up a lot. So I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like,
look what we're looking at, the heat in the oceans in Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's this next year. That's when everything is going to be happening and shifting and changing. The weather's going to be a big part of it. There's a lot of other stuff about, there is the new Earth, but then there's a vibrational Earth, and then there's also another planet, Earth, that has been underway for a while. Where we end up, where you go, it's not revealed. Even it's kind of like there's a cloudy picture for a lot of us, even in terms of like, what am I doing? Where am I going? And it's because there's going to be a switch turned on and be like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do. So some people will be going to the other planets.
And we already know they're thinking about it. That there's somebody wanting to, I don't know if it's Ding Dong from Twitter or not, but somebody wants to put people up on Mars in within the next 10 years or something. I think that it's important for us to remember that whatever it is that's coming, that we don't operate from a position of fear, that what we have to do is we have to prepare. We have to have water and this and that. And then we have to know that we are protected and we are divinely guided. And if it's time for us to go, there's nothing we can do about it, kind of, and it looks kind of nice over on the other side, actually. It's not such a bad place.
We're more advanced in some ways than we were led to believe.
I agree.
I've been told that there's already people on Mars, so it's the question about
I got that too, that they're already there. Yep. And the Hopi prophecies also, Annie Bear, told us about the wires in the sky and they're really trains going across the tracks, but they were saying a big snake or something like that. So I've been waiting. I haven't been anxious about it, but I studied the Earth changes back in the 90s when we had some at that point, and we did something at that point that shifted it. We were in time, I guess, but that's what actually brought me to Cannon, honestly. That's what brought me to her, because I was living in Houston at the time, and I drove up to see her and hear her speak and read her books and everything. Yeah.
I wish I could have met. Well,
yeah,
I've met her in spirit through us.
You have. She adores you. I just know it, because I do. You're wonderful. No, you really are. I'm enjoying this very much. Thank you so much. Wildflower is kind of at a place in her life where she lives alone. Her husband has passed, and she doesn't really know what to focus on. She doesn't know where to go. I don't know, anything that you can offer for her. I love her very much. She's been around with me now for almost 3 years. And so.
Some cards.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Those of you who have come in late, thank you so much. Jill, I love that. Maybe Gaia will take control. It's like that old, you can't fool Mother Nature. Remember that lady back in well, you probably don't, you were too young, but back in the 70s and 80s, she came on and it was a butter ad. And she used to say, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
Well, it's coming back.
It's coming back.
But it's not vengeance. It's just, just cleansing.
Yeah.
I saw it.
What else?
There's something.
Oh, you think a switch will come on and you will know what to do.
That's the one I saw, actually.
Okay.
there's a lot of parts of our DNA that's been turned off for a long time,
Okay.
which
Cool.
includes abilities, but it includes other information that has yet to be switched on. And the way it's described is literally poop, and we'll remember stuff. Well, not poop, but
It's okay.
yeah, no spontaneous.
Oh, that made my day. That was good.
Yeah, there's no.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, ping. There we go.
Ding. Not
It-
tinkle.
yeah. And it's I've even asked, like, it's kind of how I got the answer. That was because I've had some visions that I kept replaying in my mind, wondering if they were going to manifest. And I asked, and they said, you'll know what to do when the time comes. So it's that type of trust. So it's not like you're going to be behind and suddenly the lights are going to come on. You're like, oh my God, it will be a knowing that is just, you won't even question it. So that's what I mean.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I no, and it could be poop. You never know. Or poop.
Who
or
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
What are you trying to get rid of? What are you trying to release?
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's funny. Somebody, I was asking a question, some of the questions today for what is something that you don't like to happen or whatever, and somebody gave me an answer, and the first thing I thought was farting under the covers and somebody wafting the sheets. You know, that would not be what I would really enjoy happening. So,
Yeah, definitely.
Wildflower, I get gratitude. And I just want you to know that by offering up your own gratitude to what it is that you have, something very small, something very, very small. It could be, I got up today and I actually had some milk left over for my coffee or whatever it is. It is seeking you and you are seeking it. So, whatever it is that is out there, don't think you're the only one looking. Just sit quietly and let it alight on your shoulder, just like a butterfly. Yeah. I love that though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
The
yeah.
affirmation, the crystal cave trusts, with the amethyst. So it's really sometimes the best thing we can do in order to receive guidance is not do anything and just trusting that things will come to us. Sometimes when we put more work into it, the less it will happen. I can
It becomes more elusive. Yeah, it does.
Also, it's a time for watching the clouds, just giving yourself space to rejuvenate, lying back, relax. It's not, the spiritual changes aren't supposed to be stressful. We will, just having faith, we will be supportive. This is for the good and not giving into fear is the biggest thing. And the heart of source is with you, which is just all about all encompassing love, unconditional acceptance, and just serenity. So again, this is just all about take a deep breath and the voyage. That's kind of hard to see. There's little strings below, and it's just assuring you that you're always guided no matter wherever you go, even though if you feel like you're just out by yourself, there's a higher power with you the whole way.
There's always somebody with you. That's right. Mm-hmm. Beautiful message. Thank you. Erin wonders, the words galactic guides.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mentioned this last week.
Oh, you did? Okay.
They're definitely non-physical. It's more energetic, blue light. I feel like almost like sometimes you might see kind of like almost like a cobalt blue out of the tail of your eye or something like that. There's some acknowledgement that they are maybe from your childhood. I don't know if maybe you had like quote unquote imaginary friends when you were a child or anything like that, or had sensation.
I did.
Yeah, a lot of us do. We just
A lot
don't
of us did.
talk
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, they're kind of pointing me to your childhood. So this is probably a matter of just kind of remembering back things that you might have kind of buried away or thought you told your mom and she was like, stop watching the movies. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I was always afraid of the Twilight Zone music. Oh my God.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Just awful.
yeah,
But I love the idea of the blue light. Yeah, I could see that.
yeah. It's something that
Hmm.
I think it's the Pleiadian. I'm not sure. But there's our concept of what guides we have is extremely limited. There's
Mhm.
like thousands upon thousands of different types of energies and races and everything else. So
Wow.
there is a definite, if you look, you will find us. So I'm not really sure what that means.
Do you ever look at anybody and see all their guides behind them?
Yeah, I do.
You
Not
do.
visually, but
Yeah. Okay.
that's been a process too. Sometimes they're
I hear they fill up the room sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. They're kind of busy.
yeah. Then there's
Yeah.
some more smokers, some are don't talk. I swear.
Having a beer.
I met I met with this girl. She was super sensitive, but she she could see spirit and everything else, but when it came to her guides, she couldn't really see them or pick up on them. And I think it was just, I don't know. But she was like, every time that something's going wrong in my life, I smell cigarettes. And I swear, I don't know if it's a family member. I don't think it would be a guide because I can't imagine a guide smoking cigarettes. But she said it's just overpowering. And we did a session and it said, yes, actually, you have two guides. One stands in front and he's kind of the leader, and one's behind you and stays back and he loves to smoke.
And it wafts this way. Oh my God.
And it was actually the front guide that was telling me this in a session.
Okay.
He was like,
yeah, he probably didn't like it either, honestly.
that guy back there.
Yeah. There used to be a smoking section on a plane, like that was ever going to, not get to the people in the front. But
Yeah.
I remember being in a car with my girlfriend. She and I worked for this guy that was he was a gin drinker at lunch, and he also loved garlic. And we started smelling gin and garlic. And we knew he was with us. We just knew it.
Yeah.
But we had to open the windows. That's how bad it got.
Wow.
And we hadn't had it. So it had to be Hank. So every time we get together, we're like, well, is Hank going to come again? We have to be ready, I guess, know? So, yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. So they all have sense of humor, everything. Yeah. Everybody has
absolutely do. I mean, sometimes guides they've had lifetimes. Sometimes they are people from our now that decide, okay, before I go, I'm going to stick around with you for a while. Grandmothers are really popular, especially ones with close connection with. For some reason, they're always there. I mean, I know mine is. So when in doubt, reach out to your grandmother if you had a good relationship and she's in spirit. So
yeah, that's awesome. So this will be our last question for the day. We're almost at an hour, and this has just been fabulous. And thank you to all of you who have just been so wonderful in the chat. And it's been wonderful to be here. And I just love that we got to laugh, because that's my favorite thing to do. So honestly, it really is. So it looks like Cicero wants to move to California. Isn't that? I think I saw that in another one that you put up. So wonders about that. All right. Well, I have some cards I pulled for you. I have the first one I got is a safe. Not you are safe, but a safe. I don't know if you have enough money to do it right now. I'm guessing that's why it's showing up. It's like saying, do you have enough money? You've got to, not only you've got to move there, but you've got to take a chance on what neighborhood the right neighborhood is. So do your work, but save your money, because that California is fairly expensive if that's where you're going. There's something unavailable to give you a complete answer at this point, but I get here that, a clear path could come to you. And if that's the case, then you're going to know it. But it might be a tough decision for you. And there might be a fork in the road that comes up beforehand that you say, do I want to be in this part of California or wherever it is you're moving? Do I want to be here? Do I want to be there? Where's the job? I'll tell you one thing, you don't want to have to travel far for a job if you live in a place like California or even in Washington State where I live. It's hell to get on those freeways. And it's not necessarily how far in miles something is, it's how far in time it takes to get somewhere. So just my 2 cents.
Yes, personal experience in LA. Yes.
There you go.
12 miles to work, and it would take sometimes 2 or 3 hours. So yes.
Oh yeah, I believe it. Yeah. I've gone down there to teach before on some of the bases when I was working for a company, and they would put me in a motel, thank God, right around the corner, because there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah. So she's moving to California or moving from?
Cicero, is it California you're moving to? Is that where you're thinking of moving to? Because I know you posted a couple of places, and let's see.
I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter too much. It just makes me think of the redwoods and Muirwoods and stuff in Northern California. Wise Woman of the Grove, which is all about grace. So I don't know. I mean, it's feeling like possibly where you're moving to is going to somehow
that's the
reconnect you in some sense with ancestors, with family, maybe ancient ancestors. So I don't know how if that resonates with you to any degree. So maybe this move is more about the job and new location. In terms of this, Gates of Triumph, success expands in your life. This is also just about being focused but discerning. So as was already discussed, just being mindful of all the conditions and the area you're moving to, everything else, and not letting yourself be distracted by things that might not necessarily really contribute to it has pretty trees, but the practical,
it takes me 3 hours to get to work and 4 hours to get home.
Yeah, you're not going to care about the trees when you've been in the car for 3 hours.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think this is just recognition you're protected. So this is an oak tree, saying, take a very grounded approach to this, very, stand in what you want, stand for what you believe in, trusting yourself. The lightning bolts are all about oaks can actually kind of transmute lightning, that they can absorb lightning in a storm. So just showing that either this is already a quality of yours, that you're pretty adaptable in new situations, which would be great for a move, or there might be things coming towards you, but just recognizing that, using that energy that maybe a letdown or a no, transmuting into just more passion in terms of I'm going to find something else that's really better in the long run.
Right.
So all about perspective.
Yes, it is about perspective. What might be thrilling for her wouldn't be for us, or vice versa. So I understand completely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like my grown children love to live in the city. They just think it's fabulous to have all that noise. And I live out in the country, but probably when I was their age, it wouldn't have bothered me as much either.
Yeah.
So, it's just the way it is.
I love San Francisco. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a different time in my life. I still love it.
Yeah.
The memory of it.
The memory of it. Yeah, there you go. And that's what we can hold on to. Much. It's one thing they usually can't take from us unless we end up with you know, cognitive dysfunction or something. But anyway, I don't know about you guys, but I had a really great time, and I thank you so much, Jason.
Yeah,
This was
absolutely.
fabulous.
Yeah,
And
pleasure.
thank you to everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye
you, everybody.
now. Bye bye.